They plan for the attack according to what has been determined by the central attack computer, with their ground forces going down onto the surface to assault the Federation droids and equipment, perceived as a non-military presence on the planet, while their fighter craft attempt to board or drive away any Federation ships in the area. They are hoping that the mere presence of a force of Republic fighters will be enough to convince the Federation to abandon Naboo, because they are not a fighting force. After the briefing, they are walking to the hangar area, and Obi-Wan says to Anakin he is going to go along on the carrier ship to keep an eye on him, and Anakin seems happy about this but says nothing. They enter the hangar and Anakin goes off to the transport craft. Just then Padme attempts to go to Anakin but Obi-Wan halts her, saying that he has enough to think about. Then after they part he goes to Anakin, telling him, "May the Force be with you." He replies, "May the Force be with us all." They enter the carrier, while Padme goes off to the one which holds the ground forces. Obi-Wan makes his way to the bridge, while Anakin goes back to where the personnel are preparing their fighters. There are the other pilots who are engaging in the battle. He walks past them as they speak to one another, then looks back at them, then goes on to look at his ship. He is approached by a pilot, who asks him if he's Anakin, telling him that he's supposed to familiarize him with his ship and controls, which he does. The carriers launch from Coruscant, and travel up from the planet into space. Then the interior lights go red before they launch into hyperspace. Anakin stands in the red light near his fighter. But while they are waiting, suddenly the pilots around grow less relaxed, and begin fidgeting, and moving around to burn off energy. Then a light and klaxon sound and one of them tells Anakin that the time has come, and he climbs into his ship. After getting in there remains a wait of several minutes more. He reaches out and grips his control stick, then he lets it go. There is some chatter coming through and they do a final test of their communications equipment. He checks a few things and speaks to his R1 unit. The other pilots are likewise waiting in their fighters. There is continuing chatter on the RT and Anakin now begins to grow impatient, asking what is holding things up and is told that they'll be engaging soon enough, and to take it easy. Then the announcement comes through that they are coming out of hyperspace at Naboo. The carriers come out of hyperspace, and one of them proceeds down to the planet, while the other heads towards the Federation freighter. Then another announcement comes on telling the pilots to ready for launch according to the assigned sequence. Anakin readies himself, and is waiting for his signal to go, and then the door opens. He sits, as every one of the other fighters launches, and Anakin waits for his turn, until he realizes that he is going out last. Finally he launches, but as soon as he is out he has a bit of trouble holding the ship steady. His R1 unit sends him an alert, and he adjusts his stick, and presses some buttons. He is warned by control to hold his position, but he is struggling to keep himself going without getting too close to the other fighters. One of the other pilots warns him about his flying, and Obi-Wan tells him to not try to fight the controls, and relax. Anakin settles down and regains control. The navigator asks Obi-Wan if he's never flown into combat before. Obi-Wan says he's never flown a fighter before. But Obi-Wan recommended him for the mission, despite that. The fighters are now moving well away from the carrier, in the region between both ships. The carrier attempts to establish contact with the Federation freighter to avoid a fight, but they are not replying. On board the Federation freighter they are tracking the new ships, and then one of them gives the word to prepare to launch the first wave. As the Republic fighters approach there is no fire coming from the craft, but they are not retreating either. As they near they give word that they might be able to board without a fight. On board the carrier they detect something being launched from the Federation freighter, and say it could be missiles. An alert goes out to the fighters to track the signals coming from the target craft. They see them approaching as points on their monitors. There is a great deal of chatter coming across the RT, and Anakin makes his own observation that they are moving too slow to be missiles. Then they get within range of the first ships, far ahead of Anakin. The pilot sees them visually and IDs them as a drone wave. There is suddenly a barrage of laser fire at the vanguard of the fighter group. Anakin looks ahead, but sees nothing at first. The ships before him begin to maneuver away. Anakin too sees a couple of the drones zip past him at lightning speed, and veers his ship around. He attempts to get a fix on the nearest one, but they are moving around too quickly, one of them getting a few hits on his ship. Anakin asks the droid for damage, but they are still operational. Obi-Wan watches as Anakin and the other pilots are having difficulty contending with the speedy drones as they zip by and fire with deadly aim at them, like sitting targets. The first of their ships is destroyed by the attack. Anakin keeps attempting to get the drones on his scope, following one, but soon it is again out of range. Within the Federation ship they watch the battle, assured by the success of their battle drones to engage the slow Y-wing fighters. But while Obi-Wan watches this calamity, he is curious how the ground forces are contending with the Federation presence on the planet. Padme is with the Republic ground forces on the surface as they move away from their carrier into the region which is occupied by the Federation. They move off into the woods and are met by a Federation tank, knocking through the trees into a clearing, but they are able to beat it off with their own mobile weaponry. Now they are alerted to their presence, and the captain announces that they are not facing a military force. But the Queen warns of the fighting ability of their battle droids, and droids have no need to surrender. He tells her that they should be able to take care of them. The force goes off into the woods, with Padme trailing up the rear. They go ahead and enter the clearing in the woods, and continue to scan in front of them. But then battle droids drop from out of the trees around them and fire. They attempt to draw back, but are surrounded. Padme charges forward with her own troops, and are able to break through the battle droid line, and provide an escape means. But they have to leave behind their heavy guns. The meager force of Republic soldiers is now driven back, and they tell Padme that their sidearms have no effect, and now the battle droids are coming in their direction. She tells them to retreat back to the mountains. Above Naboo, another of the Republic fighters is lost, and Anakin and the others still struggle to be able to get any hits on the drones. Only every so often is one destroyed. The Federation waits and then launches another wave of battle drones, which go out and begin a fresh assault. Anakin is frustrated by his lack of success, even as he has saved a number of the other pilots through his expert aim. But then he thinks of something and asks R1 how he can get a broader scan of the area, and he presses the buttons to see a view of the entire battle and studies it. In the meantime, Obi-Wan recognizes that Anakin is veering out of the battle and lets him know. On the planet they retreat back to the mountain as the battle droids are moving after them, along with a couple Federation tanks. The Republic force is in disarray, and have nothing with which to fight them. The battle droids then make their way towards the carrier, and the Queen says they ought to get that ship away, but the captain says that it is their only means of escape. So Amidala gives the signal herself for it to take off. They shoot at the approaching enemy force, and are able to get launched and away. And she then communicates to them they can meet them at another clearing further north, and she has the remnants of the force come with her as they retreat across the mountains.